Awesome. All right. Welcome to Contractors Mastermind 2020 edition. I got, my name's Gino. I got Brian here on the line. Brian, welcome to the show, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I
Yeah,
appreciate it. Thank you.
glad we could hop on. I know we got a little bit of a time crunch. We're going to work in. I got stuff going on. You got stuff, but we'll make it work, you know?
Yeah.
First question to get us started. Who are you? What business are you in? What you specialize in? How long you've been in business? And yeah, we'll kind of roll with that.
Okay, so my name is Brian Vent. I am the owner of Restoration One of Loudon, and also Restoration One of Tyson's in Virginia, Northern Virginia specifically. I got into this business about 2 years ago. Or actually, this is my second year in business. And that was mainly because I had a passion for serving people, and I wanted to look at what industries could I serve people who actually really uniquely care for them, and then let things like our actual integrity shine when there's a lot of bad players in the industry. And so it was one really great opportunity to be a part of you know uh, uh, people's issues as they arise. Now, we specifically do emergency services. So that would be like property restoration, water, your damage, your mold, fire damage, odor control, cat urine. My place smells like this. Can you make it smell a little more rosy? And that sort of thing. So we do all of those types of property restoration. We work with insurance agents. We work with realtors, getting them to close quickly. We work with home inspectors. They want to hand it off to somebody who can competently do the job. And we're one of the very, very few IICRC master certified restoration companies in Northern Virginia. So, yeah, thanks.
Hey, yeah, perfect. That's awesome. So you've been in
Yeah,
business for about 2 years now, correct? And you
yeah,
have two different locations. Um,
that's right.
what's that journey look like for you and your company? What's some of what do you think the toughest part, up to this point? We'll talk about 2020 and everything going on currently in a bit, but what's that journey look like for you as a company?
Well, I think the journey has many components, right? So the first thing is understanding your customer. Number one, who is our actual customer? How do we respond to an emergency at 11 o'clock at night and respond to their home within an hour and a half, all right, or even sooner, right? So I think that was the initial stage of the journey. The continuing stage is now, how do we continue to service them and service all of the people end to end, from that phone call all the way back to that insurance company that's receiving those estimates and then paying on behalf of that individual's insurance. So I think that was kind of a second step. Now, a third step is really looking at the people. How do we use people and technology smartly? And with the COVID-19 crisis or event, whatever you want to say, it's the scale of a large, a scale of a large catastrophe like a hurricane, but it's hitting the entire US in various different forms. So it was really, how do we manage our people? How do we manage our services and provide high quality services throughout this, and manage the people and technology through it?
Right.
So that's kind of what that journey looks like. And I would say that the trajectory is really still the same. And I can go into detail on that unless you have another question.
Go right ahead. Go right ahead. I
Yeah.
love what you're going.
So I think in this industry, if you take, a phrase out of Jeff Bezos's, he was in front of a lot of people. He was public speaking, and he said, "What are the three things that are not going to change for Amazon in the next 10 years?" And he came out and he said, selection, ease of use, and price. And most of you can agree that, oh, by the way, yeah, I want really good selection. I want to be able to get to it easily through my app or through the website, and then price. But most people haven't thought about, well, what does that mean in our service industry? In our
Right.
service industry, for me, and the things that we chose were service, speed, and communications. So those are the things that really define our journey, define where we're going, and they're not going to probably change in 10 years. Service is still going to matter. Speed is still going to matter in emergency services, and communications. How do we communicate to each other, to our customers, to our vendors, and everybody that's in that entire ecosystem. You know, how does a roofer talk to me, and then how do I communicate back? Those things just never change.
Communication overall, making sure effectively the integration between everything as well, to make sure that the quality, quantity, and speed of service continues.
That's right.
Huh.
That's right. Yeah. 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 Yeah.
I love the thought process. Very systematic. Strategy. It's so interesting. It's not just like we'll figure it out kind of. It's like, how do we do this most effectively? Because that's important for not only your business but also the end user as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, what's been the toughest part about dealing with 2020 and the COVID stuff going on? And what is your company doing to? It could be very wide open. You never know. You know, where could this go? But like, what are the toughest parts about right now? But also, like, how are you as a company seeing how you're going to have to bob and weave with the punches, bob and weave with things are changing? What is how are you adjusting? How are you having to adjust? What is that looking like in a actual instance, working with customers and you know, these emergency services, but also like as a business continuing to grow? Like, what's some of that been looking like for you guys?
Yeah, and I would say, yeah, great question. I would say for us, you know, COVID has really introduced what I kind of consider the bullwhip effect from supply chain management, right? So you get your ups, your downs. You need us, you don't need us. You do need us, you don't need us. So it's really created that whipsaw of an imminent demand that's just so high you can't service it, to zero demand or even negative demand. We don't want you in our house.
Right.
No questions asked, because you know you don't have the proper PPE on, you don't have the right mask, you don't have the right gloves, you know, those sorts of things, right? And so what really matters now, and what's really changed, is how do you communicate that you're being safe? And I think 2020 has been a year of pivots. I would say in a very short period of time, we've had to pivot the company at least 3 to 4 different times. Each company has had to completely pivot, and they had to pivot in terms of how they communicate our services, and how people utilize us. So things like no contact, right? Papa John's has no contact services. Domino's Pizza has contactless service, right? And so, you know, those two things became an important part of what we do, but we are really come into contact with customers.
Right.
And so even being able to show them, by the way, I'm 10 feet away, I've got mask, I've got gloves on, gives them the somewhat of a little bit of trust, so that we can go and do what they need us to do, they want us to do, but then we are obviously providing that service to them. So I think that that's really been part of it, you know, and that's been 2020 for us, is understanding the service model has changed. Our customer preferences have changed. The entire ecosystem has changed. And by the way, we still need to service them when they call, to the degree that they require, but we may not know. So, you know, for me personally, I've leveraged a lot of my digital product management side in my history and things I've done before I came into restoration, to, you know, understand what's happening with the customer, understanding that pivot, and then following them as they're maturing and changing their cycles, right, of what they're interested in seeing. You know, so one example of this has been changing our marketing to, let's not sell a new service, right? Let's just show them a toilet paper calculator, so they can calculate how much toilet paper they're going to have, and they can make it through COVID.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. It's very disassociated from our business, but it's very engaging, and it's something that's, quote, helpful to them.
Right.
So those are the types of things that we've been having to do that we might not have done otherwise. We might not have put a toilet paper calculator out there. We might have just shown pictures of our service as instead. So you have to be creative, you have to follow the customer, and you have to be helpful to some extent,
Well, yeah,
in the way that they want you to be.
right. I've heard a term like entertainment is gonna be like, oh, as the times continue to change, like entertainment is gonna be one of the biggest marketing vehicles in getting in front of
Mm,
and grabbing attention. But also providing service in the background too, because like that's that much more of like, wow, that was a great experience, and especially with the amount of stuff they're getting hit with on a daily basis. It's like, how are you standing out differently than your competitors?
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I had a question, and I lost it. Okay, so if a customer were to choose between you and three other of your competitors, what would be the key differentiating factors about you guys versus someone else?
I think they would see that we are generous.
Yeah.
I think one of the number one things is we get onto a job and we're working with a homeowner, and we're being generous pretty much from the first minute that we're present with them.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for me, but I think overall it could be difficult to be generous, and that's one of the things that we show them is a level of generosity that they're not expecting. All right, we have number two, we have homeowners that are exceptionally concerned. And most of their concerns are, things like, is insurance companies going to pay for this? Who's going to pay for this? How much is this going to cost? Right. And I think in our industry, we have to alleviate that concern by being generous, by communicating, and by giving them options.
Yeah.
And a lot of times they say, oh, I didn't even know I had that option. It's a
Yeah.
little bit different from a plumber or a roofer because they have an option not to pay you. But if they had a leak in their roof and water's coming in, for a roofer might say, oh, but we have these financing options you weren't thinking about. So I think for us, generosity, alleviating that concern. And again, I think our credentials, being in Northern Virginia, being a credentialed company, having the background of somebody that's, for me, I'm a veteran. I've been a veteran of 11 years. I've got a business degree
Right.
from a pretty, accredited institution, plus we're IICRC master certified. When you have the level of credentials, it gives you credibility.
Yeah.
So you could be generous. You can try to help them and do all these things, but you also need to know what you're doing and have a book that you're working out of. And
Right.
I think that allows you to have a fairly standardized service, a very, in a service that they can go and do their research and it matches
Yeah.
the textbook or what Google says about you, and then you can continue working. And if anything, I mean, it creates more value in their minds. So what was it? Number one was, or alleviating concern, being credentialed and being generous to them.
That's perfect. Yeah, thank you. Speaking of which, this has been a topic that came up in past two or three conversations I've had, whether it's on here or with other guys I've talked to in like the water damage restoration industry. I was also talking to like a public adjuster and another guy. But how has insurance been? If it's something you don't want to touch, it's been a touchy subject for some guys because um, insurance providers have been very flaky and having a lot of excuses right now with the COVID stuff going on and not wanting, like, have you seen that as an issue with where
Not
you're
at all. Not at all. 0%. Insurance companies have more people than we do. They have more people and they're literally slow. They're telling me we're slow and we're ready to go. Send us your paperwork.
yeah.
So, if anything, they've been very understanding. They have worked with us. Our operation did slow during COVID. We're trying to figure out what was going on. And we just said, we'll just delay sending in our estimates. And they were okay with that. We
Right.
watched where a customer was going, recognized where they were heading, and then continued back with our accounting and our estimating. And they were okay with our operation slowing, with labor issues and everything else that most people ran into during this time. So I didn't see any flakiness. Maybe the small guys are flaky, but definitely the big players, large companies, definitely not flaky at all, more understanding. And if anything, they're actually leveraging our service. So, and I think that's been a value add for them as well.
That's
So.
awesome to hear. That's awesome to hear. So if you could go back 6 months and you knew that COVID-19 was coming down the pipeline, what would you have done differently?
I don't think I'd do anything differently.
Is there
I think
anything
I might.
you really do? Yeah.
I think.
Mean,
I
it's
think there's
open-ended.
nothing I would do differently. I think the only thing I would do is I would have managed the supply chain a little closer.
Okay.
Supply chain issues were by far pretty much the number one, number two issue that we ran into.
Yeah.
From my experience during the Japanese tsunami many years ago,
Yeah.
I was in a company and we lost all of our ability to manufacture LCD screens. And through that example, it showed me how important the supply chain was. And it was about, right at the beginning of March, I said, the supply chain is just critical.
Yeah.
And so I just bumped it up in the number of priorities. And I wish I would have gotten that in February or January. I would have probably gotten more of everything that I was, cautious, and I didn't know if things were going to come in. I ordered it, but is it going to come in? And the supply chain really, really got hit. Disinfectants, PPE, of all types. I mean, it just became non-available. And the great thing is, I think I thought quick enough to get ahead of it, but there are some orders that still are not fulfilled, and we're 2 months later. So I think supply chain I would have done differently. I would have gotten an earlier start on this when I saw it as a potential macro event. I think that people just could not have seen the impact that it had. And, even in any terms, right? We just, reported 7% unemployment, 20.2 million jobs, that were lost in 1 month. Like, who could have predicted that, right? That's bigger than the recession. That's almost bigger than, if it was 25% above, it would be bigger than the Great Depression. So we are one half of a Great Depression, so who would have even known that could have happened, and the speed of which it happened. So supply chain, I'd say number one.
Hey, how much time we got? I got a couple more questions. Want to make sure.
Yeah, go ahead. Give me two more. Yeah.
What have been some of your biggest, or what have been like your focusing points, whether it's in terms of marketing and bringing in new business? Has the internet played involved with a lot of that, with the way things have been shifting to people being at home, or what does that look like for you guys leading up till now and even moving forward?
So you're asking, how has the internet played a part in our marketing, or can you ask that one more time?
Marketing, bringing in new business, staying in front of your customers. What does that look like for you guys, or what's your thought process on that?
Well, I think staying in front of our customers has really been all about safety, right? Yeah. So where can we meet safely, right? And for many people and most contractors and people that hear this video, they're probably going to say, well, we weren't in their office. Yeah. And we didn't transfer our phones to our cell phones, or it went to Nancy or here. So it created a lattice that we had to operate through and find just to stay in front of like our referral sources, the partners that we're trying to help. We can't even get in front of anymore because their office is closed, or Susie doesn't want to answer the door anymore. And so we found meeting people outside made sense. Like, it's a nice day, let's just meet outside. Zoom was another option, but again, it's not as personal, right, as meeting and seeing somebody physically. Even if you're social distancing, outside to me made a lot of sense. Yeah. Internet is also, it's a part. I don't think it's creating a lot of leads for us, but it's more assisting with the brand marketing, right? So making sure the brand is out there and content marketing in a way that people are connecting and engaging with our brand or with us as individual, Restoration One is 300 franchisees. Now they see, two of us that are, or a couple different websites, and we're all being very helpful. Now they're saying, wow, these are really helpful, generous people that
Yeah.
care about not just me, but they care about my customers. I might want to go and work with them after this COVID thing is cleared out, right? Or they might have services I didn't think about. So we do disinfection services, and we are also very qualified in PPE. We have all the hospital grade cleaners, filtration devices, etc. These are things that some people go, oh, I thought they just did water damage. I thought they just did mold. Or, it just gave us another avenue. And
Yeah.
so, we saw a lot of growth in groups on Facebook, even in our page. And I think over time, it will be an area that works out for us. We
Right.
also created a TikTok account. We're out there adding, video and to what we're doing, and some music, and it's just become an avenue that we have to communicate in,
Yeah.
when people look for us. So, instead of waiting on that, we shifted our focus to that's actually a component, maybe, X%, and we have to do that on a regular basis. So that's a shift, that we have to make as our customers are now shifting more digital.
Cool. This last question, I'm gonna kind of group two questions together.
Sure.
What are some of your 6-month kind of short-term benchmark goals for you and your company, 6-month, year, but also like 1 to 5, and like what are give us some closing remarks too, so we can kind of wrap this up.
Right. So I think like short term, short term is stability. And I think, a lot of people can agree. I just want things to be stable. It's nice if you get the PPP loan or the EIDL loan. But it's really stability, right? Most business owners are going, I'm okay taking risk. It's more difficult with this high level of uncertainty, right? So I think it's projecting some stability through the uncertainty, getting past July 31st when the government stops paying the $600 per week. We'll see labor and things go back to normal. When the US opens up, things go back to some sort of normal, the new normal, whatever you want to call it, or you call it normal plus Zoom. So I think in the short term, it's getting back to stability, getting past those benchmark dates, your state opening up, federal government, US kind of opening up for business again. Then we start thinking medium and long term. For us, long term, it's again, it gets back to those top 3 things that I mentioned before, right? Service, speed, and communications. We need to uniquely invest in areas that make those areas stronger, right? And so, we've started to do that, but again, we want the stability of, the number of, the business coming in. And I think a lot of people are looking for that. So I kind of go back to those top 3 things. I
Yeah.
don't see them changing, but those are the things we're focused on so that we can care about our customer. We can care about our referral sources. And it's not just hey, can you just send me business? It's like, I'm caring for your customers and I'm being generous, and one side of their house is water, but then we find another water damage in this side.
Yeah.
We'll handle that while we're here, and we're not going to charge them for that. We're not going to charge insurance. We're not going to tell insurance we did it. We're going to take care of them in whole if we can, and be generous and care for them as we are. So I think that's really going to dovetail into our long-term plan of caring for customers. People are going to connect with us because they see this video. They see how we are. They hear of the generosity. They hear that we're saving 70 to 80% of the material we're coming into contact with.
Yeah.
That creates speed for the insurance company to get their home back to a pre-loss condition as fast as possible. It gives speed to that customer's concern in their head, again, tying back to those top 3 things. So overall, I'm just really thankful for the opportunity to be in front of you, to be in front of homeowners, to be on these types of videos, to let people know what we do, to tell people that's where I sleep, and really share with people that we're not just out to make a buck. We're really out there to do a lot more. And in these times of uncertainty, we really have to keep working together,
Mm.
finding ways to connect, whether it be outside, Zoom, or online,
Yeah.
until we feel safe enough and we get through the challenges that are in our windshield right now.
Well, it's interesting. One thing that comes to mind is like a concept I've heard in sales and in marketing,
Right.
in general, whether it's you, your business, your product, your service. Like if you stand behind like what you do, there's this expectation, or it's it's like it's a disservice if you don't properly,
Mm, mm,
keep yourself in front of your prospective customers, keep that pipeline full so that the referrals can be made, so that the referral base can continue to grow. It's just like,
that's
how do
right.
you, that it's a disservice if you don't, because what is the other choice? And there might be other good companies out there, but if you
Yeah.
really, you know what I mean? It's like, and that's what I really liked about what you had to say. It's like, I can get behind that, it's,
Well, that's great. Thank you. Yeah.
not, it's like, it's like the frame of like, it's not like I'm not just out to make a buck, but it's like, look, it's like that buck represents that many more people that I've helped, and provided that
Mm.
service to the utmost of integrity and generosity, like you're talking about. So,
And we're excited about helping our
yeah.
customers, and we care about them to a level that, even in many people that we come into contact experience it, they're saying, well, they've never seen this. And I'm going, this is normal for us to care to this level, to keep you informed of what's happening with your customer, that you handed over to us, and you said, I want to make sure they're taken care of. I want to make sure we get to that closing date. I want to make sure there really isn't any water. I want to make sure that you care about the science of drawing. You can give me some numbers, like how did you really get us from super saturated down to dry? How did you do that? So our goal is to do that, and to really care, and as and we're enthusiastic, we're passionate, we care about it, and we really feel that that's part of our fiber, and that's part of a fabric of our company and
Right.
our company as we go forward. So
Well,
yeah,
Brian, I know you got to get running here shortly.
I do, yeah, yeah.
Thank you, man. I'm going to end this recording.
You're welcome. Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, thank you.